Kia ora! Welcome to my channel! I'm glad you joined me again for the next episode of this series, where I travel on a culinary journey around the world to find out which country has the healthiest national dish. The culinary area we're currently visiting is Oceania, and today we're having a closer look at Middle-earth, Aotearoa or New Zealand, however you want to call this beautiful country. Their national dish is meat pie, a savoury pie filled with different ingredients. The most common one is the mince and cheese meat pie, and that is exactly what we are going to cook today. If you're from New Zealand or have tried meat pies before, let me know in the comments which filling you like best. First, we'll prepare the dough, a rough puff pastry. For that, we're going to sieve some flour and grate a quarter of the total amount of frozen butter needed in this recipe. The rest will be added later on. Then we'll combine these two ingredients and add some salt and water. Cover the dough so it won't dry out and let it sit in the fridge for half an hour. Now we'll tend to the filling of our pies. Heat up a pan and sear the minced meat until it is browned nicely. Meanwhile, we'll dice half an onion and add it into the pan after the meat has taken on a nice brown color. Also, we'll crush in a few cloves of garlic. When the onions have turned translucent, when the onions have turned translucent, we'll deglaze with some Guinness beer. For more moisture, we're going to add some beef stock and then let this simmer and reduce for a while. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick info break. Meat pies are a typical food and snack in Australia and New Zealand. The Aussies eat about 12 meat pies per person in a year and the Kiwis 15. The Office of the Food Standard Australia and New Zealand, or short FSANZ, sets the quality criteria for many foods, among them the meat pies. According to their requirements, every meat pie has to contain at least 25% meat, which can be composed of all these different kinds of meat. However, if offals are used, it must be specified on the packaging. In 1977, a fast food chain named George Pie opened in Auckland, the menu of which featured many different meat pies. Overall, they had 32 branches all over New Zealand. Sadly, this chain isn't operating anymore, and their last restaurant was closed down in 1998. But the pizza fast food chain Domino's introduced a meat pie pizza to their menu in Australia and New Zealand, which is topped with minced meat, gravy, onions and peas. Since 1997, an annual meat pie contest is held in New Zealand. There are 11 categories in which the best meat pies are awarded a prize. Welcome back to the kitchen! Now it's time to finish our puff pastry. Roll it out to about half a centimeter. And then sprinkle some of the remaining butter over it. Fold it and roll it out again. Repeat this whole process until there's no butter left. After we incorporated all of the butter, we'll fold and roll the dough a few more times. There are many different folding techniques for this. Just be creative. Wrap the dough in plastic foil and let it cool down in the fridge until we're ready to make the pies. Our filling has now reached the right moisture content and we can thicken it with some cornstarch slurry. After a few minutes, take the meat out of the pan and let it cool down on a plate. Now, let's cut some cheddar cheese. I cut it into small cubes rather than grating it, because this will give you little cheese bombs inside the pie and makes eating them much more fun than if it was a homogeneous mixture. When the meat has cooled down, mix the cheese into it and our filling is done. Now we just need to roll out our dough. If you want to, you could also fold it a few more times. Cut out some circles. And lay them in a pie or a muffin dish. And fill the pies with our meat cheese mixture. Glaze the edges with some egg wash and cover the pies with another layer of dough. Press the layers together with your finger and also using a fork. We'll glaze them with the rest of the egg wash and poke a few holes in them so that the steam can evaporate. And then we'll bake them in a preheated oven at 190 degrees Celsius for about 20 to 30 minutes. And when your meat pies have taken on a nice brown color, they're done. But before you go, let's have a quick glance at the nutritional values of New Zealand's national dish. The calories of 2 meat pies make out about half of the recommended daily energy amount for women. The meat delivers a lot of protein, and the high amount of fat and cholesterol listed here derives mainly from the butter in the puff pastry. The diagram with the coverage of the daily recommendations shows that every nutrient listed here is present in meat pies, but some minerals and vitamins stand out. Since we need a consistent basis for comparison of the different national dishes, I broke down the nutrients based on 1000 kilocalories. Now for the final review. The calories are pretty much what I would recommend for someone like me, a woman who lives in a Western industrialized country, where overweight is a bigger problem than worrying about getting enough to eat. I assess the good nutrients as follows. If in the 1000 kilocalorie scenario they cover 50% or more of the daily recommendation, they get a point. This is the case here for protein and minerals. The nutrients, which should be kept in close boundaries, are evaluated depending on how close they already get to this boundary in this single dish. The only compounds which are quite high are salt and alcohol, although most of the alcohol should have evaporated and is probably a lot lower than listed here. So the overall assessment of the nutrients is 2.5 points. As for regarding taste, I award this meat pie 5 out of 5 points, with my extra stamp of approval. I even think meat pie is now one of my favorite dishes. It's just such a tasty comfort food with so much umami. But since the taste doesn't count in our search of the healthiest national dish, New Zealand will be colored in orange. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment and subscribe to my channel for more tasty recipes. I hope to see you again next time when we visit Papua New Guinea. Until then, bye!